Hello and welcome to everybody. Hello friends, it's good to see you again. Welcome to everybody who is joining us. It's really nice to see you all. So hello if you're just joining us. I'm going to give us a few minutes as always so that we have time to arrive. And as we normally do in these sessions, can I ask you to put in the chat box your name and your age and whereabouts you are in the world. So I will start us off. I'm Rachel and I'm calling from Totnes in Devon, and I've got some familiar looking names I can see in our list. We've got Charlie and Thomas. Yeah, Charlie and Thomas have been to every single session. It's great to see you, Charlie and Thomas, who are 10 and 7, calling from Scotland. We've got Maya, who's calling from London. Maya's going to be reading our story today. We've got Elia, and I know I'm saying your name wrong, Elia, so tell me again how I say it, because I know I'm saying this wrong, from Perthshire. We've got Orion and Oshi. I think you've been to all our sessions, haven't you, who are 3 and 6 from Buckfastleigh. We've got Esker from Totnes. I know you've been before. Great to see you, Esker and Annie from Totnes. We've got Bo from Birmingham. I think I recognise your name as well, Bo. It's great that you've joined us again. We've got Izzy, who is 4 and is calling from Gloucestershire. Really lovely to see all of you. Well, actually, I can't see you, but you can see me and you can hear me. And we've got Ailey from Perthshire. Great to see you. So as always in our Thoughtful Tales, we are going to be inviting you to have a listen to our story, and you can either read along because we share the story on the screen, or you can do what I love to do when we hear stories, which is to close my eyes and just listen to the story and then imagine for myself what's happening. So however you want to listen or engage in the story, it's completely up to you. But we're very lucky today. We've got a friend of mine, Maya, who's here today to read us the story. So I'm going to ask Maya to unmute yourself if you can, and I'm going to hand over to Maya, who's going to be reading us today's story, which is called Lizard's Wonderful Walk. So over to you, Maya.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're ready for a little wander around the garden. So, Lizard's Wonderful Walk. Lizard was having a bit of a glum day. He was feeling particularly fed up and sorry for himself. He had spent the morning scuttling around the forest floor as usual, dashing to the stream for his morning wash, then over to the big leaf pile for his morning exercise, and then back over to the shady tree for his breakfast. After rushing up the tree to nibble on a delicious-looking berry, he quickly scuttled back down again to find a sunny spot in the forest. "I'm so bored," said Lizard as he flopped himself down on top of a rock. "This forest is really boring. There's never anything to do, and nothing new ever happens. I wish I lived in a more exciting place. There is just nothing happening here." After a few minutes sitting on the rock, tapping his foot in impatience, Lizard noticed something move on the ground beneath him. Peering over the edge of the rock, he saw his friend Snail moving slowly beneath him across the forest floor. "Morning, Snail," Lizard called down from the top of the rock. "What are you up to this morning?" "Oh, hello there, Lizard," smiled Snail, peering up into the sky. "I'm out for my morning wonder walk. Isn't it a wonderful morning?" "I don't think it is," muttered Lizard, scrambling down from the rocks. "I think it's a very boring morning indeed. There's nothing to do, nothing to see, and nothing interesting happening anywhere." Snail slithered to a halt and looked with puzzlement at Lizard. "Nothing happening?" she said in surprise. "But how can you say that, Lizard? The forest is practically bursting with exciting things all the time." How about you join me on my wonder walk, and I'll show you some of the amazing things happening all around you. Okay, I may as well come. I've got nothing better to do, muttered Lizard. And he sloped along beside Snail with his head down. The most important thing to remember on a wonder walk is to slow down and to pay attention. Keep your eyes wide open and pay attention to what is happening around you. I like to use my invisible wonder glasses to help me. They can help me zoom in and look closely at things, and also zoom out and see amazing things far away. Lizard frowned at Snail, not quite understanding what she was talking about, but thought he'd give it a go and followed Snail slowly into the forest. They pushed their way through the undergrowth and stopped beside a large patch of lush green grass. Snail looked at the grass and then up at her friend Lizard with a smile. "Isn't it wonderful?" she said, looking in awe at the grass-covered dew. "What is wonderful?" asked Lizard, peering curiously at the grass. "I can't see anything special." "Look at the dewdrops," said Snail encouragingly. "They're like little crystals which appear in the night and which dance on top of the earth, sparkling in the sunshine. How wonderfully beautiful they are." She smiled at Lizard and looked again closely at the dewdrops twinkling in the sunshine. Lizard realised he'd never looked closely at dewdrops before, nor had he ever thought about how they appeared and how they were made. They were indeed quite wonderful, and when you stopped and thought about it a little bit. "Now look at this flower," said Snail, nodding towards a daisy sitting in a sunny patch of the forest. "When the sunlight shines down on her head, she will slowly open up her petals and bloom all day long, and then close herself again in the evening when the sun goes down. Let's watch her open." And the two friends sat down in the sunshine and watched the daisy as she carefully unfolded each of her little petals and spread them wide open to welcome the sunshine. "Wow," said Lizard, smiling widely. "I've never seen a flower bloom before, or thought about how amazing it is for them to do that every day. Wonderful indeed." Just then there was a low rumble in the sky, and a cloud moved across the sun. The wind started blowing stronger, and pretty soon the sky was full of clouds, and the first plop, plop of the raindrops could be heard falling on the treetops above. "Oh, it's raining! How boring," muttered Lizard from under a leaf where he had hidden. "Quick, let's shelter under that big oak tree." The two friends huddled closely together, watching the rain fall, jumping every time the thunder cracked and the lightning flashed. "Isn't it amazing?" shouted Snail, raising her voice to be heard above the rain. "Where do all the raindrops come from? And what makes the lightning flash in the sky? It's so spectacular." Thought Lizard quietly to himself. "I've never really thought much about the rain or the weather before. I've just taken it for granted and not really thought about where it comes from, or what it looks or sounds like, or how it smells, all feels. I guess I'd never really paid attention before. I've always been too busy rushing around. I suppose the rain is pretty amazing when you stop and notice. He looked up at the sky and the rain falling heavily from the clouds and took a deep breath, enjoying the freshness of the scent of the air and the soft feeling of the water bouncing and splashing off his head. "Quite delicious," he shouted to Snail with a grin as he danced around in the rain. After a few minutes, the rain started to slow and then stop, and the sun nudged back from behind the clouds, warming the earth and scattering the storm clouds away. "Wow, look, Snail, it's a rainbow," shouted Lizard, scuttling up to the top of the hill to peer down into the valley. Snail slithered up behind him as fast as he could and joined Lizard at the top, both of their mouths wide open in wonder at the beauty of the rainbow. "Where does it come from?" wondered Lizard. "And how does it bend so perfectly? How do such bright colours just suddenly appear in the sky? Where does it begin? And where does it end?" He sat in deep thought, feeling very calm and contented as he watched the rainbow flickering in the sky before it gently vanished out of sight. "I always like to end my wonder walks on the top of the hill to watch the sunset," said Snail, looking up at her friend, who was lost in thought. "Would you like to join me?" "Of course I would," said Lizard with a big smile. "This is such an exciting day, and there are so many wonderful things to see and experience. Let's go." And so the friends set off up the hill, stopping along the way to peep under a leaf at a family of ants, to stand underneath a tree and touch the patterns on the bark, to peer into the river at their wobbly reflections, to smell the delicious scent of the wild strawberries and enjoy the feeling of the long grass tickling their toes. As they reached the top of the hill, a flock of starlings were swooping and swirling in the sky, flocking together to create a murmuration. They moved in perfect unison as they performed their acrobatics in the air, hundreds of little birds moving together in one motion to create spectacular patterns across the sky. "Wow, it's like magic," sighed Lizard, looking up in awe at the birds as they moved across the sky. The sun was slowly setting behind them, touching the tops of the horizon with its golden rays. Snail settled herself down and looked up at the sky as it glowed red and orange and purple and gold. It was one of the most magnificent sunsets she had ever seen. Lizard's eyes were so wide. His heart was pounding in awe and wonder. "It's so beautiful," was all he could say as he sat quietly with a very wide, contented smile on his face. As the final ray of sunshine dropped below the horizon, Snail turned to her friend with a smile. "Did you enjoy our wonder walk, Lizard?" she asked curiously. "Or are you still bored?" "Bored?" laughed Lizard, shaking his head in disbelief. "I can't ever imagine being bored again." You've taught me to pay attention to all of the magical moments happening all around me every day. If I look closely, I can see wonder everywhere, from the tiniest ant to the grandest thunderclap, and so much else in between. You've helped me realise that there is wonder and magic in everything around me, in sights and sounds and feelings and sensations. This has been one of the most wonder-filled days I have ever had. And then, as if by magic, a shooting star passed over the top of the two friends, leaving Snail and Lizard smiling from ear to ear and feeling full of awe and wonder, and very happy indeed. The end. I don't know about you, but I desperately now want to run out and see the whole world with my own little glasses. But before we do that, I've just got a couple of questions. So I know Rachel often asks a few things, so I've got my own few. Let's start right at the very beginning. I don't think Lizard's the only person who feels bored, right? But why do you think he was feeling bored? I'd love it if you can just type a few answers into the chat and tell me why you think Lizard was feeling a little bored at the start of the day. There we go. I was worried I'd put you all to sleep. So he felt that there was nothing to do, exactly. Ah, I like this one, because he doesn't get fresh air. He was stuck at home. I think we all feel a little bit like that, because he thinks it's just a boring forest, and he's been in the same place for a long time. He thought, I like what Emily was saying, nothing exciting was happening. I'm going to say he thought nothing exciting was happening, because I think we learned something different. And then, yeah, you, Joe and Annie, who I know are not quite your names, but because he didn't pay attention or he wasn't looking carefully enough. Exactly. Who here, let me just get a little raise of hands, feels bored a little bit every day? Got, yeah, 2 people raising their hands. Sometimes, yeah, I think especially recently, we've all been caught up, right, at home, not going out as much. Things have gotten potentially a little boring. But then let's see what we can learn. So Snail invited Lizard on a wonder walk. And this wasn't any old walk. Do you remember what made this walk a wonder walk? What did Snail say is the most important thing to do on a wonder walk? To look, yeah, exactly. To keep your eyes open. There was something else, because I'm looking now, and I think we do all walk around generally with our eyes open. But what else was special? What allowed them to actually see? Ears listening, watching the air. I like that. I'm going to give that a go. When you go about your day to day and you're doing things really quickly, what happens? You start missing things. So what did Snail, very typical of snails, encourage Lizard to do? To slow down. Perfect. Exactly. Sometimes we do things too quickly to even notice what's happening. So we can go around with our eyes open, but he wasn't really looking slowly. Exactly. So you miss so many things. Now let's take a moment. What are some of the things that Lizard and Snail discovered? Who can remember what they discovered? Yeah, taking interest is a really important one. We've got a rainbow. I think the rainbow was a big hit. The rain, yeah. Dewdrops. Birds, yep. What happened when it started raining? At first, kind of, did Lizard find the wonder in that? Yeah, thank you, Lindsay. Sometimes when it's raining, or when it's cold, or when it's dark, when it's things we don't really like, you can't even imagine you're going to find wonder in that. But what did Snail make him do? And how did he start discovering wonder, both in the rain and in all of these other things? How did he notice what they were seeing? Every day is a thing to discover. So when they were noticing, they took a look, they noticed how it felt or how it tasted. Snail knew what to look for sure. But how did they notice it exactly? Like they were looking at the taste, they were describing it, and quite beautifully. Do you remember when she described the dew? It wasn't just like, oh, look, there's water on the leaves. She noticed how it was shimmering and how it looked like little diamonds. So started describing things beautifully. What else did they do that brought in a sense of wonder? They went slow. What did it bring out? They looked closely. And then they started wondering. They asked some questions, right? It made them curious. What causes the rain? Where does the lightning come from? And sometimes they didn't even need an answer to it. It was just enough to question. They actually looked properly. How many of you found something today to wonder about? All right. Joe, what did you wonder about? Do you want to share a little bit? Or are you wondering about yourself? Because that's also something pretty marvelous to wonder about. How are there so many snowdrops? Oh, yeah, that must be beautiful. Wondering about the cars. I'm going to set a little challenge in our last few minutes now and get us to try and discover something where we are even sitting. We don't even need to go outside to go on a little wander, right? So you can either stay where you're sitting and just take a few minutes and look around, or you can get up and just walk around the room for a minute and I'll call you back. But put on your wonder glasses. I hope you all have them handy now. And just take a minute or two and look around and see what your eyes land on. It could be something as simple as a mug. And just spend a few minutes and wonder about it. If it's an object, you can pick it up and just look closely and play. Like you said, how does it feel? How does it smell? What can you notice for the first time? Got a lot of people looking outside. This is a perfect time to start wandering. You've got a gorgeous sunset, hopefully, in the trees. Reef's enjoying his puppy chewing his new bone. There must be so much joy in him right now. Rachel, I agree, wondering what the birds are saying to each other. So I'd love to hear a little bit more. What have you chosen and what is it making you wonder? Exactly like Rachel did. She's wondering about the birds and what they're saying. I found a pen and I use this pen every day. But it's made me wonder, how does it even work? Who invented it and how many different types of pens we have? So Lindsay's wondering where the clouds go. Paula's wondering, why is the table brown? And how does the sunset work, Joe? Exactly. A lot of people a long time ago wondered that. Now I'm reading, I don't know if any of you have heard any of the Greek myths, but they used to believe that the sun was on a chariot ridden by a god through the skies. And he used to go to bed at the end. Orion's wondering about her new pen too. Love it. Now that we've all spent a little bit of time wondering, how do you feel just before we leave? How do you feel at this moment? Joe's feeling good. Happy and hungry. Good, getting a lot of goods. I think it's a good idea to take a minute each day or longer to even watch the birds in the garden. Calm. Hungry. How about we bring some wonder into the hunger? What is going on in your stomach that's making you feel hungry? Peaceful. All of these are such great feelings. And all it took was a minute to sit with your wonder glasses and look around and see the world that little bit differently. So I'm going to challenge you each morning to spend a few minutes with your wonder glasses on and maybe take a different room in your house and discover a little bit of wonder exactly where you are. Thank you all for joining me for our thoughtful tales today. And I really look forward to seeing you in a few weeks' time.
Thank you so much, Maya, for that wonderful story. I'm sure we're all feeling very calm and excited and wondrous now. And it's great to have Maya with us. She's going to be back in a couple of weeks with our next story. And next week, we've got my friend Carolina, who's going to be reading us a story. So I hope you all join us again next week. But really well done for all of your chats and taking part. And a big thank you to Maya for such a beautiful story. So see you all again next week at 4 o'clock. Have a wonderful week, everybody.